She was dressed in a white lace gown that shimmered like moonlight. Her hair was crowned with white cowries, her neck and wrists lined with beads that rattled softly with each graceful move. She was not just a girl. She was a vision. But it wasn't until the final festival before Nwanmari's sudden death that he dared to walk up to her. He placed it in her hand. "Try it on," he said. She slid it onto her wrist and beamed. She looked at it like it held a piece of her soul. "It's yours," Okudalai said, smiling. "But keep it safe. It means a lot to me." Amaka, dazzling in her coral beads and fine wrappers, stood like a goddess among mortals. They dressed him in full traditional regalia and set out with singing and celebration for Nyala. Part 2: Okudalai and his destiny wife. The love that chose its own path. Have you ever heard of a love story written by the gods themselves? A story woven by the winds of tradition and the whispers of river spirits? A tale where a man's heart beats not just for a woman, but for a divine destiny? Sit back, my people, and hear the tale of Okudalai and Amaka, a love birthed by a goddess and nurtured by culture. Before we begin, tap that like button, subscribe to AfriFun Tale, and leave a comment below if you believe some love stories are written by the heavens. Now, let the drums roll as we journey into the heart of Mbalu and Nyala villages. It was during the last festival of the great goddess, when the riverbanks were filled with the sweet sounds of flutes and drums, and maidens danced barefoot on wet sand, that Okudalai first laid eyes on her. She was dressed in a white lace gown that shimmered like moonlight. Her hair was crowned with white cowries, her neck and wrists lined with beads that rattled softly with each graceful move. She was not just a girl. She was a vision. They called her Amaka, and she was different. Unknown to many, Amaka was not just a child of man. She was a child given by the goddess herself. 13 years after Mr. and Mrs. Okon had married, their home remained silent. No child's cry, no tiny feet running through the rooms, only silence. They had traveled far and wide, spent wealth like sand, visited seers, drank herbs, knelt before prophets, yet nothing came forth. One day, a friend of Mrs. Okon, Madame Gozi, whispered about a place called Mbalu and a river priestess named Nwanmari. At first, they shook their heads. But when the silence in their home became louder than drums, they packed their bags and journeyed to Mbalu. When they arrived, they were taken to Nwanmari, who was by the river consulting, where the air smelled of camwood and river breeze. There the river goddess spoke through her priestess Nwanmari with eyes closed and lips moving like river ripples. She said, "You shall carry your own child in 9 moons. But hear this, every year, bring her back to wine and dine with us at the yearly River Goddess Festival. Let her dance in the presence of the river. Do this till the day she dies, and peace will remain in your home." True to the goddess's word, 9 months later, Amaka was born radiant, calm, and beautiful. They named her Amaka, meaning beautiful one, because she was beauty beyond imagination. Every year, Mr. and Mrs. Okon traveled from Nyala to Mbalu for the goddess festival, fulfilling their promise, dressed in their best white attires, with their daughter beside them. Okudalai, the quiet son of priestess Nwanmari, had watched Amaka grow from a girl into a blossoming woman. Each year, he saw her return. Each year, his heart grew restless. But it wasn't until the final festival before Nwanmari's sudden death that he dared to walk up to her. It was amidst the thunder of drums and flying wrappers that he approached her. "Amaka," he said softly, "my heart has been dancing for you longer than these drums have beaten." She smiled, shy, but didn't walk away. That moment changed everything. He had planned to speak to her parents and also to Nwanmari herself about his desire to marry Amaka. But fate took a different path. Nwanmari, the great goddess mouthpiece, fell ill and passed away unexpectedly. Her burial rites swallowed the village in deep mourning. After the dust of the funeral had settled, Okudalai realized he had no way to reach Amaka again. But he remained patient. He waited, knowing she would return during the next festival, bound by her parents' promise to the goddess. A year passed like a whisper in Harmattan. When the next festival arrived, Okudalai searched the crowd like a farmer looking for ripe yam in a field. And there she was, Amaka, more graceful than ever. He called her aside to the riverbank, where they spoke like old lovers reborn in this life. Okudalai had brought with him an ancient wrist bead, passed down through generations in his family. He placed it in her hand. "Try it on," he said. She slid it onto her wrist and beamed. She looked at it like it held a piece of her soul. He watched her, waiting to see if the sacred bead would react to her spirit. But nothing strange happened, only that she refused to return it. "It's yours," Okudalai said, smiling. "But keep it safe. It means a lot to me." Before she could reply, her mother's voice rang through the air. "So this is where you are. Your father and I have been searching for you." She looked at Okudalai, then back at her daughter. "Is this not Nwamri's son?" Okudalai fell to the ground in greeting. He told them his heart's desire, his wish to marry Amaka, and asked for their blessing. Mr. Okon, eyes deep with thought, told him, "If you are serious, come with your elders. Let tradition lead the way." On the appointed day, the ease of Mbalu and his wife rose like mountains behind Okudalai, taking the place of his late parents. With drums echoing through the forest, they dressed him in full traditional regalia and set out with singing and celebration for Nyala. In Nyala, a big tent awaited, where Amaka, dazzling in her coral beads and fine wrappers, stood like a goddess among mortals. Her people welcomed Okudalai and his entourage with dancing and ululation. Before her parents, Okudalai laid down the bride price offerings, baskets full of yam, honey, bananas, kalanut, garden egg, alligator pepper, and colorful wrappers. He knelt. Amaka knelt. Their parents prayed with tears in their eyes. "You will be fruitful," her father prayed, placing her hand into Okudalai's. "You will not regret this journey." The crowd clapped, danced, and shouted joy. Even the skies smiled that day. Together, Amaka and Okudalai returned to Mbalu, carried by songs of love and community. The village waited, ready to welcome their bride. Women sang with deep Igbo voices. Children danced in circles. Amaka felt at home, and not long after, the gods smiled again. Amaka became pregnant. The village rejoiced. Okudalai danced until his wrapper untied. Don't miss part 3. Amanda, the child the river marked. If you enjoyed this tale, leave a comment below. Have you ever seen destiny and love collide? What do you think the goddess has planned for Amanda? Like, share, and subscribe to AfriFun Tale so you don't miss the spiritual unfolding of this divine journey.